money and I did it my way. Blackball from the game, caught me cast away. Waiting on my downfall, gotta stay ahead. Don't just cut me off, patience hanging by a thread.
And we are live. What is going on, everyone? It's Johnny Dunn, and we are back with another one. Today, epic VeVe video. Today, there's a couple different things I want to touch on. Lots been going on. Haven't made a video in about 8 days now, so finally recovering from being sick. Feel a lot better. Shout out to everyone in the whole VeVe community who came down with the sickness. I think a lot of us are starting to feel a little bit better now, so that's always a great sign. I think Anaheim, Cali, with the whole VeVe community, 100% worth everything. Last couple of days just haven't had a lot of energy, so everything, I've been feeling a lot better. There's a lot of things I want to cover in this video. One of the things I want to touch on is just all the recent VeVe news that's been happening. There's been a lot of things that haven't been able to cover, so I kind of want to dive right into it. Starting with a couple of Medium articles the last few days. I think the last one I really touched on was the Obi-Wan Kenobi. That was actually a collectible. I wasn't able to go for it on the drop. I ended up getting it in the marketplace. Just felt like, being how cheap it was, I don't know the exact price. Let me try to check real quick. I think it was like just about retail, maybe a little bit under retail even. And I felt like a first appearance of pretty legendary character, especially from the Star Wars fandom. I think that's going to do pretty well. It didn't end up selling out, so that's good to see. Just want to touch on the details real quick. Floor price $60 right now, so first appearance. There's only 4,000 of these. I think it is retail maybe. Yeah, so it's going for about retail what it was, $60. That was the list price. So I picked one of these up. I think I got it for around like $50 in the marketplace. So picked one up. I just wanted to have this one. First appearance of a popular Star Wars character. Figure it's going to do pretty well over time. Didn't stack them, but in my opinion, it could be a good one. Not financial advice, of course. I'm not a financial advisor, but first appearances of characters that are pretty limited, one pose from a pretty big-time fandom of Star Wars. I think it's going to do pretty well once the market comes back around. We had a bunch of comics that dropped. Tarzan of the Apes, 208. Strange Tales, 138. I didn't go for any of these comics. I didn't pick any of these up. I do think it's one of those things we're getting closer and closer. Good glimpse of what the VeVeverse inside is going to look like. So I think a lot of these comics that may not have extreme value in real life, once we can put them in our showrooms in the VeVeverse, especially the exclusive covers that are extremely limited, maybe 500 editions, 1,000 editions. Those are, I think, will maybe tend to pop a little bit more because people are going to want to show off stuff that others just can't have. And I've always been a believer of the bigger time comic books, of course, like the Holy Grail from the Silver Age. Those top comics, I think, are always going to do the best. But once we can finally put them in our VeVeverse homes, I can't wait for when we can put the comics in the showroom. She-Hulk drop. I didn't go for this one. I think it actually did come out really well. Here's the animation of the She-Hulk drop here. That's the ultra rare. Very, very exclusive limited set. There's only 1,500 of these ultra rares that's animated. There's only 500 of the secret rare, so it's a pretty limited set. I think that's pretty sweet. I'm not the biggest She-Hulk fan, so I didn't go for this one. But why I wanted to cover this drop is because I think this is kind of a preview of what could be dropping in the near future. Now, they have said more Star Wars stuff is going to come, so I could definitely see maybe some more legendary characters, like a Yoda or something like that dropping, maybe a Luke Skywalker. That would go crazy. Or even in a bear market, I should say, a Luke Skywalker first appearance, a Yoda, stuff like that will do great from Star Wars. But this She-Hulk drop made me think, are they previewing the Incredible Hulk digital collectible? If that was the drop, the first appearance of the Hulk, I think even that would do well in a bear market. I would definitely be going after that one. I so hope they drop the Hulk. We had Avengers Annual number 10 drop, the Battlestar Galactica. Now, I didn't really know too much about the Battlestar Galactica. I saw Sleeping Comics. He was a big fan of this one. Shout out to Sleeping Comics. Still got the Sleeping Comics wristband on right now. Shout out to Sleeping. You might be able to see the hat. Got a little different setup right now going. I had to rearrange some things. But we're going to be getting back to the original setup soon. Now, this is a $50 list price, 3,500 editions. I'm not sure if this one's sold out. Let me check real quick if this one's sold out. Nope. So this one didn't sell out. But again, I think this is a home or VeVeverse long-term play. A lot of these ships and a lot of these huge vehicles, I think, will look awesome flying around in the VeVeverse. Could be, a good one. I didn't end up going for this one though. Never. especially in a bear market, the way I've been treating it, I kind of want to touch on my strategy here just a little bit. I've only been going for things that I absolutely love or that I absolutely feel like is a must-have, would have tremendous value in the future. And so that's kind of what I've been, gearing my drops for. I haven't really been going for every drop, been a lot more limited, been a lot more disciplined, I would say. And I've been just using the extra income to try to get as much OMI as I can right now. I'm going to continue to try to accumulate OMI the next, I would say, few weeks, few months, depending on the price point of it all. But I think that's my game plan right now, especially in a bear market. For the drops, just go after the stuff I really, really love, and then put a lot of my extra income into the funds that I do have into OMI right now. So that's just kind of my strategy to touch on real quick. We got 2,000 editions for the ultra rare. I think I like this one a little bit better, just the way it looks. But I saw some people on Twitter using it as like a weapon. I saw that look pretty good in the VeVeverse homes. This is the drop that I really wanted to cover today. This is the one drop that I'm actually excited for. I did not know what they were going to do with the edition account. They announced it yesterday, and they finally put out the Medium article today. This is the DC bat signal. Now, this is pretty sweet. This is, I think this is like an artifact, basically, from DC, as what they're calling it, because I think there's a section in VeVe that may have this kind of teasing as a lot more artifacts from DC to come. And I definitely think we're going to be seeing different artifacts from all different types of, let's see here, of different brands. Like I've always thought and talked about from ever since that Alcon video from, way back when in that interview, he's talked about how a whole bunch of different props from like Harry Potter we could see on the app one day. So I think this kind of just fits in with that whole theme. The DC Gallery Collection presents the most iconic artifacts from across the DC universe. Now, one thing I also want to talk about was Rhys had an awesome AMA, if I can find it here. Yeah, so Rhys had an awesome AMA with Metaverse Express, Metamona. Let me give her a subscribe here. She had an awesome interview with Rhys, professional. It was just amazing. She crushed it. Rhys crushed it. And they touched on a lot of different things in this interview, as well as the interview with, where's Captain VeVe here? Here's another great one with Captain VeVe and Rhys and a whole bunch of other people in the VeVe community. They touched on a lot of other stuff too. They talked about how in the VeVeverse there's going to have IP universes or different lands, like a DC land or something like that. And so either the artifacts could unlock it or maybe just bring some kind of rewards or utility in the DC universe once we get the VeVeverse rolling. Like I said, I didn't know what the edition count was going to be. And once I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. So they went this route with it. At first, I thought this was going to be like a pretty sought after, highly collectible item. But then the more I realized that this is going to be more so, in my opinion, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. This is going to be more so like you're just a fun type collectible that every Batman fan is going to want to have one of these in their VeVeverse home, showing off their light, showing off that bat signal. And what kind of confirmed it for me was it's only an $18 list price, but 8,888 editions. So that tells me right away this is more so geared towards like a fun type collectible. And that's what I've always tried to instill in people, is to be aware of what kind of drop is this going to be. Is this going to be that highly sought after collectors type item and then could have some high value to it? But instead of thinking every single thing that drops is going to be like that, kind of have to separate some drops. And this is one of those drops where I think that's going to be pretty sought after, but since there's a lot of editions, this is going to be more so a fun type collectible that every Batman fan is going to want to have in their VeVeverse home. So I think this could be a longer term play for the VeVeverse. Like I think this could be something where if you sat on these for a couple years or whatever the case may be, I don't know the timeline, but once we really get rolling into the VeVe City and all types of stuff like that, this is something that could come back and maybe pop off, maybe long term once we get a lot more users on the app. But it's kind of how I see this one. I'm excited for it. I want to show you guys a clip of how this looks real quick. Who tweeted this out? Shout out to Captain Era 84. I wasn't able to view that for you guys on Twitter. I think it looks great. I think it's going to be even more detailed once we actually have it in our showrooms. This is a must-have for me. I'm definitely going to be getting one of these. Now, only $18. Some people are going to say it's not worth going for. It could drop. Got something on the bottom there too. Pretty sweet. But if it drops, what's it going to drop to? $10, $8? It's really not that big of a difference. So for me personally, I'm going to try to at least get one, maybe two on the drop, and then pick up any in the market, maybe just a couple in the market. But I'm not going to go all out on this drop. I'm just going to pick up a few extras in this one. Just kind of how I want to do this. But again, I don't think this is a money maker, highly valuable, going to be thousands of dollars right away. It's not one of those drops. This is like more so a fun type collectible for me. And I believe that's kind of their mindset as well too once I sell the edition account. Now, again, gave her a shout out. Let me try to find her on Twitter. You guys can go subscribe to Metamona on Twitter. She writes, I'm impressed by VeVe and the passion community who taught me about the project. This week, I sat down with Rhys to learn more about building the next iteration of collectibles and comics in Web3. And she crushed the interview. Let me just do a little bit of a play here. Play the intro a little bit. The DeLorean. Season 1's forever iconic. Donnie. Was that my VeVe NFT collection Instagram? Did they capture that? No way. That's awesome. Let's try to rewind that real quick.
Well, hello, everyone.
Let's go. They included the VeVe NFT collection. That's my Instagram. If you guys aren't aware, make sure you guys go follow the Instagram. Let's go. Appreciate you guys. I didn't know you guys had that in that video.
Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for joining Metaverse Express Full Stop, where we hit the brakes to discuss hot topics and the metaverse. Joining me today is a very special guest, Rhys. See, I didn't mess up the last name. He is the communications manager at VeVe. I'm just very excited to introduce Rhys and the incredible VeVe project to you guys today. Rhys, we are so grateful to have your time.
You guys should definitely check this out. It's less than an hour long video on YouTube. Check it out. I thought it was incredible. Rhys killed animation in there. Definitely check it out. The other YouTube video that went down recently, with Rhys too. Rhys has just been on a roll lately. Was Captain VeVe, a German YouTuber, a bunch of other German YouTubers from the community. Got on an AMA and asked Rhys a bunch of great questions from the community. So make sure you guys go check out this video as well. I like the intro of this one. We got VeVe Versum. We got Chris VeVe. We got Energy. Great video, guys. This is about almost 2 hours long, so a little bit longer one. But again, covered amazing information in this. Definitely suggest watching it. They did an amazing job. And the other thing I want to touch on this video right here is for Mark Zuckerberg. Now, the New York Times event had a bunch of people on stage asking him questions about the metaverse, etc. And the reason why I wanted to play this, it's about 25 minutes long, but I'm only going to play about 10, 12 minutes of it because I think he covers a lot of stuff that VeVe is all about: augmented reality, VR, the metaverse. And I think you're going to see so many similarities between what he's talking about, where he's going, his vision for this, and where VeVe's lined up and positioned themselves to be when this kind of all takes off. And we're a lot of work into the metaverse and this whole virtual reality, augmented reality. I think one of the biggest factors that's going to happen in the next couple years, is when Apple releases their AR glasses. That's going to be a game changer. So let's dive right into this, and I'll kind of give my reaction review of a little bit at a time here.
When you look at this, what does it look like to you in 5 years from now?
You know, if you're going to spend time looking at a screen, right? If you were going to do a video call anyway, then, you know, over time, I think it'll feel better to just teleport to a place and be there as a photorealistic version of yourself. I think that that'll be pretty powerful. You know, the point is not to make it so that people are using this all the time. It's just to make it so that the time that we all spend on screens already can be better. And I think this can be more immersive and feel a bit more human.
It's surprising that I'm saying this, but it feels more human, even though it does.
I mean, it's like we can actually make eye contact in
Right.
here.
No, I'm looking at you.
Right,
And you're looking at me, or at least I think you're looking at me. But
yeah, no, I'm looking at you. Yeah. You know, I think what we see is,
see, these glasses right now, people are going to kind of hate on this and say, there's no way I'm going to be walking around all day with these glasses on. And that's just an old school way of thinking, because think back when cell phones first were created. This cell phone was big, bulky, had the antenna huge. And people would laugh at you if you said people are going to be, not just people, everybody in the world is going to be carrying around that cell phone 24/7 because it was big, bulky, clunky at first. That's the way these VR AR glasses are. Once these sleek down over time and we get to a slim, frictionless application hardware device, just like this is now, the iPhone, I believe people are going to be wearing these glasses 24/7. And good or bad, that's a whole nother discussion, but that's just where I believe next handful, 10 years, that's where it's going to be and evolve to.
sorry, I have the hiccups.
you're saying having the hiccups in the metaverse.
I just pounded my lunch really quickly before jumping in here, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I don't know if the gesture of hiccuping is one that the face expression thing is really dialed in, but I mean, I think it's actually pretty good on a lot of.
The other thing, real quick, is that these avatars are going to get a lot better. These avatars eventually, in my opinion, are going to become realistic looking. I think you're going to have an option to kind of go to that cartoonish version, but then for like more serious meetings and stuff like that, I think you're going to be able to choose to use your real photo of yourself, and it's going to look just like yourself.
Expressions. I mean, you can moving your mouth around, moving it from side to side. You can even puff your cheeks.
Mark, I'll just say thank you. I don't know if I can give you a pound or how that works. Thanks. I look forward to talking to you again, and there's just so much more to talk about. So thank you.
All right, glad I got a chance to show you. All right, see ya.
But we didn't want to do this fully in the metaverse. Hey, Mark, it's great to see you.
Good to see you too.
No hiccups this time,
right in there.
but everybody just saw the hiccups, I think. And I want to maybe, by the way, talking about hiccups, maybe that's even a way to start, which is to say, you've talked about this dream of the metaverse and have invested an enormous amount in it. And right now, there are lots of questions about what that dream looks like and how much that dream is going to cost. And we're now at a time where Silicon Valley has been challenged. The valuations of so many of these companies have come down, and you're now dealing, I think, for the first time with layoffs. We just talked to Andy Jassy, who's also dealt with layoffs. So tell us just what's going on in your head right now, given all of the cross currents of pressures, if you will, that are out there, and frankly, the doubters.
Before he starts, one thing I want to talk about is how VeVe team has kind of almost been ahead of this whole entire space, so far ahead of everybody. Nobody realizes. A lot of us in the community realize, but other than that, most people don't even realize how far ahead they were. A lot of people were criticizing VeVe and the Ecomi team in the beginning. You need to hire more. You need to get a bigger team. You need to expand more. Well, guess what? All those companies that did do that, we just talked about how they're all laying off people. Amazon, Facebook, or Meta, they're laying off thousands of people right now because it is a bear market, and they might have overstaffed people when things were at the all-time high. So the fact that the Ecomi VeVe team has a small team right now has been amazing. It's looking back like they're more geniuses every day.
Sure. So I think things look very different on a 10-year time horizon than the zone that we're in for the next few years. On a 5 to 10 year time horizon, I'm still completely optimistic about all the things that we were that we've been optimistic.
5 to 10 year horizon. So many people want to just say, what's going to happen next year? What's happening in the next few months? I have no idea what's going to happen in the next few months, the next year. It could get rockier depending on the macro economy. It could start to rebound a little bit. I have no idea, but in the short term, things look like it could be all over the place. It could be pretty volatile. So the people who have that long-term vision, not just a year, 2 years, 3 years out, but 5 to 10 years, I believe if you can kind of weather the storm, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but my game plan strategy in this as well too is kind of just weathering the storm, kind of just, surviving the bear market and long-term vision with a lot of my collectibles, Omi bag. 5 to 10 years from now, I think a lot of us in the community are going to be blessed we were able to capitalize on this opportunity in a bear market right now.
I think that the computing platforms that we use will continue to evolve. The media will continue to evolve. When I started the company, most people online were sharing tech cameras and phones that had cameras all the time. And as the mobile networks got better, it moved to video. The way we want to communicate keeps getting richer and more immersive. And our computing platforms keep on getting more natural and ubiquitous. And I just think that the inevitable trend of that is, as you get a new major computing platform every 10, 15, 20 years, that like video is not going to be the end of the line. Phones are not going to be the end of the line, but we're not going to be here in the 2030s communicating and using computing devices that are exactly the same as what we have today. And someone has to build that and invest in it and believe in it. And there's a lot of new technology that needs to get invented to create that. So I'm still very optimistic about that. And I'm happy to go as deep as you want on all of that, what it means for our mission and the business and strategy. Well, but obviously for the next few years, I think we're in a zone where operating with more efficiency and discipline is going to be more critical.
Yes.
And, I think, I made this mistake. I think some other business leaders did too, but I think we made in some ways, particularly acute version of this, where we read the economic and business indicators as more likely to continue this huge pull forward in e-commerce and online commerce. So when I was planning out our long-term spending, I planned out massive investments in AI infrastructure and a number of other long-term things, silicon for the kind of hardware to support the metaverse that are 5-year investments that we spun up because we thought that the economy and the business were going to go in a certain direction, and obviously it hasn't turned out that way.
Good on him for at least owning up to the mistake right there. And like you said, a lot of other businesses did the same thing. People wanted VeVe and Ecomi to expand their team drastically, and they held off because they had that confidence. They had that belief that they were doing the right thing. And looking back now ends up being a genius move because all these other companies are laying off, and they don't have to lay off, and they're in a very great position right now.
And not only the macro economy, but I think things like Apple's policies on ATT have been hard. So yeah, we've had to pull back. Still kind of pushing forward in the same direction over the long term, but with our kind of operational focus over the next few years is going to be on efficiency and discipline and rigor and kind of just operating in a much tighter environment.
I want to get to the Apple of it in a moment, but let's talk though about the investment piece of it, not just in Meta, but what you think that the company and the earnings of the company can support in terms of these investments. I think oftentimes you look at a lot of the analyst reports on Wall Street and they say, I just wish they weren't investing in this. It's just too early.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are long-term investments, and I think over the cycle of playing this out, we're going to go through a lot of different seasons, right? Seasons where people are pretty optimistic about long-term investments, and ones where people are more skeptical. And I just think part of seeing things through over the long term is powering through some of that. In terms of the investment portfolio for the company, about 80% of our investments, a little bit more, go towards the core business, which we call our family of apps, right? So that's Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and the ads business associated with that. And then a little less than 20% of our investment goes towards Reality Labs, which is the future work on building out the software and hardware platforms around the metaverse. So, it's still the vast majority of what we're doing is and will continue to be until the metaverse becomes a larger thing. And I think you can debate whether, on the order of 20% is too much for this bet, but it's not the majority of what we're doing. And then within that, it sort of breaks down into three major platforms. One is the social platform, some of what you showed in that video, which is really more of a continuation of, what is social media and what is the social experiences that we're going to want to have in a more immersive environment. I think that's like the most basic thing that we're going to do, but it's actually a relatively small part of the overall Reality Labs work because software ends up being very efficient to develop. Of the rest, it's maybe about 40% goes towards our VR investment, where it's already we're selling quite a few units. I think we're investing a level that is sort of on par with what Microsoft did with when investing in Xbox at its peak. So, and I think the results that we're seeing right now are kind of like a game console. So, obviously, we don't aspire to just build a game console. We want it to be a general computing platform, but I think it's pretty likely that a downside case is that's where it turns out. And I don't think Microsoft regrets building the Xbox. So I think that's fine. AR is really the big thing long term, right? About half or more of the investment that we're making in Reality Labs is going towards building what I think is the long-term most important form factor, which is just normal-looking glasses that can put holograms in the world. So we do a version of this conversation 5 years from now, and instead of me on a video conference, you have another chair next to you, and I'm just there as a hologram.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty wild.
And I think that's exactly where the world's going to go. And there's going to be apps you could probably tap in and touch Sandbox, and now everyone who's in that Sandbox universe can see everything together in like a multiplayer type viewpoint. And then you tap in VeVeverse. Now everybody who's got the augmented reality glasses who's tuned in the VeVeverse can see everybody in there together. VR, AR. That's kind of the route that I see things going towards.
Start enabling a lot of really compelling use cases for presence between people. But yeah, this is a long-term thing. But we're going to stay focused on the family of apps.
Let me ask you about that, though, because a lot of people, it was funny, and I said it in the video, I felt it was more human. In a very strange way, when we were in the metaverse together about a week ago when we taped that, I thought actually the conversation was more human than the one we're having now. And I know that's almost impossible for people to believe when you're looking at it in a sort of, we're 2D right now, and looking at us 2D in the metaverse. But a lot of people have concerns and say, are we really going to spend all day in the metaverse? Are we really going to wear these goggles all day? What's that going to be like? My
answer to this guy would be, everybody's already in the metaverse. It's just a 2D non-immersive metaverse. Twitterverse, if you're watching this YouTube video right now, you're in the YouTube verse. You're probably not only watching this video, you probably already watched a couple of videos. You're going to keep on watching more after this video. You're into that, whatever environment it is, Instagram. It's just going to become, instead of 2D, it's going to be that 3D immersive virtual reality. That's all it is, really.
What do you say to them? And on a personal level, I'm so curious because just how you deal with what have been a lot of doubters about this vision and endeavor.
Well, okay. I've had doubters, and we've had doubters the whole time. The almost 20 years I've run the company. People thought, okay, this is just a college thing. Oh, it's a fad. Oh, it seems to be working, but it's not going to make much money. Oh, you went to mobile, but that's not going to work well as a business. Okay, it's working well. Are you going to be able to handle the content issues? It's I think that this comes with it's par for the course. Is that people are. I think to some degree, if you're not getting a bunch of skepticism, then you're probably not pushing hard enough on the future. So that part, I think.
I agree with that.
I try to listen to the critique because I think there were a lot of smart and thoughtful people who are giving it, and it's coming from a place of wisdom where I think we can learn and improve by internalizing some of it. But the skepticism by itself doesn't bother me that much. In terms of what do we see for the future? I think VR and AR are going to play different roles in people's lives. AR, I think, is going to subsume more of how you think about mobile computing, right? So it's more like a phone-like use case. You could totally see being out in the world and wearing it and getting directions as you're driving through a heads-up display, or getting messages and being able to respond to them discreetly and seamlessly without having to pull out something or type, just by sending some a signal from your mind, which sounds wild, and we can go do a whole tangent on that. But that I'm actually pretty confident is going to happen within the next 5 years.
Elon Musk with the Neuralink. Good or bad, I have no idea what's going to come from that. I think it's got a good potential with a lot of people who are maybe have disabilities, they can't walk, they can't talk, etc. But once it becomes a little bit more mainstream and it's more for like entertainment type thing, that's when it's gonna be a strange shift. But next 5 years, I think a lot of crazy things are gonna happen. So we'll see how that develops and evolves over time.
And VR, I think, it occupies a different role. I think that's more immersive, and in the sense of what you do when you're on a computer or TV. Which, you know, I think it's easy for you don't like walk down the street watching a TV, but you know, the average American still spends about half their time on screens in front of TVs and computers. So it's not all phones. So I think that ends up being an important part of this too. And to what you were saying before about this feeling more human, you know, there is just this dynamic. It's funny to kind of transpose it to a 2D screen. So I mean, sometimes when you show the videos of what it looks like in VR, it can look a little silly. But the whole technology is about delivering a sense of presence and making it feel like you're really there with another person. So it's all these things like how you move, how they move, right. The ability to make eye contact. You know, it's like spatial audio, right? The fact that, you know, when we were sitting next to each other in that conference room and you were sitting to my right, it sounded like the audio and how we perceive the world is spatial, right? We kind of, you know, we just kind of think about and remember, okay, I remember that you were sitting to my right in that meeting. Whereas, you know, I'm on a Zoom call all day long, you know, they all kind of look the same. It's a grid and like you kind of lack a sense of space and it sort of blends together. So yeah, we don't have the photorealism today, right? So the avatars will obviously get better over time, but exactly. But I think in some way this already delivers a better sense of presence, and this will just get a lot stronger over the next, you know, 3 to 5 years.
I kind of want to stop there because he goes in and talks about like Apple controlling the whole app store and everything like that. It's definitely a great watch. I suggest watching the rest of this as well too. Between this, the Metamona Rhys interview, the Captain VeVe Rhys interview, they drop bombshells in that video. Rhys talks about how the next maybe few years the whole reserve could be cut in half. Like the only burns, I think, once the VeVeverse really gets rolling, is going to be gigantic. Like the potential for where this project, this whole way of life, VeVe, is going to go in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm just happy to be, you know, on the ground floor shaping the industry with the whole VeVe team, the whole community. Everything's going to be amazing in my opinion in the next few years. So feels amazing kind of just to be this early into something where we've all had so much conviction to where this is going to go. So kind of just want to stop the video right there, guys. What is your prediction? I want to see in the comments down below. We know we're getting the bat signal dropping. The bat signal's dropping Sunday, I believe. So tomorrow. This is going to be a late night video by the time you're watching it. Maybe you're even watching it Sunday morning. But Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. PT. I am going to try to get a couple of these, maybe just 1 or 2 on the drop, maybe pick up 1 or 2 more in the marketplace if it comes down below retail. But I think this is an awesome one. The thing I want to see in the comments is predictions of what the next collectible drop is going to be. I don't know what the next comic drop is going to be. I think we're going to continue to get more DC, maybe a Credible Hulk drop. I don't know if DC is going to be more Batman. I hope we get more Batman by the end of the year. You know, it's one of those things where since the early days, David's always talked about the Batmobile, the bat symbol, like the actual emblem, like a badge or something like that. I don't know if that's going to be like a reward for having the entire Batman collection. I don't know if the Batmobile is going to be the reward or if that's going to be a separate drop. We've always heard speculation of the blue tie dropping one day. Could that drop before the end of the year? I have no idea. I don't even know if they're going to drop that. The Batmobile has been something that I really, really want. So if that drops, I kind of hope the Batmobile is something that drops as a specific drop, and then maybe, but then I kind of want the holders of Batman to be rewarded with that Batmobile. Maybe they do the classic Batmobile drop, and then like the newer Batmobiles is the airdrop for the full set holders of all of Batman. Who knows? But that's kind of what I want to see in the comments because I have no idea what's going to drop after this. I want to hear some predictions of what's going to be dropping after the bat sign, the bat signal. So until next time, guys, appreciate you guys big time for tuning in. Another great, not live stream today, went back to the video content today. So I'm going to be diving into both, you know, videos, live streams. Going to be trying to do a lot more. So I know the setup's not the same. Had to rearrange some things a little bit. Got some construction going down in the room. So until next time, guys, appreciate you guys big time for the support. I'm signing out. It's your boy, Johnny Dunn. We out, fam.
Grinding every day and I did it my way. Black ball from the game, call me cast away. Waiting on my downfall, gotta stay